Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are already a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Francia, and on this channel, we do a little bit of everything. But lately, I have been interested in true crime. So if you're interested as well, I hope you hit your subscribe button and your notification bell so that you always know when I upload. Okay, today's story is crazy. Okay, crazy. That's for lack of a better word because crazy is an understatement. This guy was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Okay, we're talking about this American serial killer who confessed to killing 93 people, mostly women, across 19 states between 1970 and 2005. He was very strategic about picking his victims so that he would go unnoticed for as long as possible. And that's why he went for women of color, sexy time workers, addicts, homeless, people that weren't gonna necessarily be missed per se. And they weren't technically accounted for. So no one would come looking for them right away. So, who was this crazy monster? Let's get into it. Samuel Little was born as Samuel McDowell on June 7th, 1940, in Reynolds, Georgia, to teenage parents Bessie Mae Little and Paul McDowell. His early life was marked by instability and neglect. Little claimed that his mom was a teenage prostitute who had abandoned him, and it was believed that she gave birth to him while she was in jail. After his birth, the family moved to Lorain, Ohio, where he was mainly raised by his grandmother. In school, Little didn't do too well because he was having some issues. He didn't care to listen to people. He couldn't care less about discipline and like achieving good grades. That wasn't part of his plan. So he didn't do well at all. And then he ended up dropping out of high school eventually. He stated that he began to have sexual fantasies about strangling women as a child when he saw his kindergarten teacher touch her neck. What? Yeah, not a good sign there. A little bit of a red flag. A little bit of, actually, a lot of bit of a red flag because my guy, kindergarten, do you know how young that is? I don't remember having my thoughts be this weird as a 5 or 6 year old. That's crazy. You thinking about sexual fantasies a 5 or 6? What were you exposed to? My goodness. Oh, but wait, it gets better. When he grew older in his teenage years, he started to collect true crime magazines that would talk about choking women. Yeah, those ones. That is what he collected in his spare time as a teenage boy. What could possibly go wrong, right? Let's see. Little's adolescence was troubled. He often found himself in conflict with the law. He was in and out of detention centers during his youth, often for petty crimes such as theft and assault. In 1956, when he was about 16 years old, he was convicted of breaking and entering into someone's house, and he was held in an institution for juvenile offenders. After serving time in these juvenile detention centers, he became a drifter, just roaming across the United States and continuing with his petty crimes. In 1961, when he was about 21 years old, that's easy math because he was born in 1940. Trust me, I am not that good at math. Anyway, so he was about 21 years old. He was sentenced to 3 years in prison for breaking into a furniture store, and he was released in 1964. After that, in the late 1960s, he moved to Florida to live with his mom. Of course, that was in his late 20s. There, he claimed to have worked as a cemetery worker. I don't like this. And an ambulance attendant. He said he then started traveling more wildly, like going to more state. Then the more he traveled, the more run-ins he had with the law. He was arrested in 8 different states for DUI, fraud, shoplifting, solicitation, armed robbery, aggravated assault, and grape, you name it, he did it. He was a busy guy. By 1975, he had been arrested 26 times in 11 states. Yeah. he had plans. Homeboy had plans, okay? Little's upbringing and the challenges he faced contributed to his deepening sense of alienation and anger. And he spent so much of his time in and out of prison that his violent tendencies became even more pronounced. I didn't get into his personal relationship, but it was said that he was in a long-term relationship that lasted 16 years. And I'm like, he wasn't completely alienated. Like, where was homegirl? Because he was doing all of this stuff all the while in a relationship, but then he was traveling from state to state. So I don't know where homegirl was, but that was a 16-year long relationship, and homegirl was a lot older than he was. So I don't know. Someone should have been keeping an eye on this guy. Anyways, his criminal career just escalated, and in every city he visited, he left behind more than just thefts. Homeboy was leaving behind bodies. Not good. Targeting vulnerable women, like I said before, or people battling addiction. Little preyed on individuals he believed would not be missed, making it difficult for law enforcement to connect the dots. He went on record saying, quote, "I never killed no senators or governors or fancy New York journalists. Nothing like that. I stayed in the ghettos," end quote. Is that supposed to make it better? Sir, no, because a life is a life. It doesn't matter if it was like a homeless person, a sexy time worker, a president, a queen, or princess, you name it. A life is a life, and it's never yours to take. So I don't know why he was trying to like make it make sense, as in, no, sir. Anyways, his method was brutal. He would gain their trust, lure them into his car, and then use his physical strength to overpower them and strangle them to death, often leaving their bodies in secluded areas. Oh, Lord. He was not a small dude either. He was not a small dude. He stated, quote, "I would knock them out. They'd be breathing, hard, and then I'd choke them to death," end quote. He was explaining this like he had zero remorse. He had zero remorse. He would be like smiling. He was so cocky. He was so annoyingly cocky. I feel like I could take him on. He was big, but at this point, like, give me 5 minutes in a back alley. He felt like he was invincible or something. Like in his interviews, the way he would talk about these people, the lives he took, it's like he was on top of the world. He'd be laughing. Are you serious? What's so funny about that? You took their lives. Psycho. You took their lives. And many of his victims were left unidentified for so long. So, yeah. Please explain to me what's funny. The crazy and sad thing is that they could have gotten him a lot sooner, and he wouldn't have had time to be out there still unaliving all these other people. But for whatever reason, they didn't, because, get this, in 1982, he was arrested in Pascagoula, Mississippi for the murder of 22-year-old Melinda Rose LaPree. And a grand jury decided not to indict him for whatever his reasoning was. And then he was extradited to Florida and tried for the murder of 26-year-old Patricia Ann Mount, where witness identified him as being the last person to be seen with Patricia before she disappeared and died. But he was acquitted in January of 1984 due to them not trusting the testimonies of the witness or something like that. So they could have had him if they would have just, I don't know what about him was so slick that he just got away. Maybe it's the victims that he picked. Who knows? I don't know. After this, it was like, forget it. He moved to California, San Diego area, and that same year, he was arrested for kidnapping, beating, and strangling 22-year-old Lori Barros. I don't know. But thankfully, she survived, right? She survived the attack. And then a month later, he was found by police in the backseat of his car with a woman that was unconscious, also beaten and strangled in that same location where he just attempted to take that 22-year-old's life. That same location. He was arrested this time and was sentenced to 2.5 years in prison for both crimes. I find that to be not enough. 2.5 years, that's 2 attempted murders, right? It's not one, it's two attempted murders. So you only get 2.5 years for both. It wasn't 2.5 years per, it was 2.5 years for both. How does that make sense? I'm not a lawyer, but that sounds a little bit not enough, if you ask me. Yeah, he could have been in there for longer. But that's not what happened. He was released in February of 1987, and then he relocated to Los Angeles. And when he got there, he wasted no time. He unalived at least 10 other people. That's crazy. So as soon as homeboy was out, he went right back to business. He was like, I don't know how long I'm gonna be free for. Let me just get to business. That was crazy. I was looking at his killing chart. Okay, so during his killing career, he was in prison for at least 10 years, in and out collectively for 10 years. And I was looking at it, it looked like the only time he was not killing people was when he was behind bars. If he was in the streets, he was killing. If there was like a lapse of 1 or 2 years that nothing happened, best believe he was in prison. That's crazy. That's crazy. And for decades, he remained under the radar, committing murder after murder without ever getting caught. Despite numerous arrests for smaller crimes, law enforcement agencies failed to connect him to the growing number of unsolved cases involving strangled women, which, to be honest, puzzled me because how smart and meticulous was this guy to not have left behind any speck of DNA? Because I looked it up. DNA became a thing in murder investigation as of 1986. Now, I understand for the prior ones, but the ones that he committed after 1986, like, was he not leaving behind any DNA whatsoever? Were they not collecting DNA? Because I'm sure he was in the system because he's been arrested so many times. And what I don't understand is, like, when you're arrested, do they not automatically collect DNA samples from you? I don't know. I could be wrong. Let me know if you know. But I feel like, I don't know, something should have happened. And another thing is, some of his victims were found naked from the waist down, and it was also said that he was so obsessed with strangling people, like he would grab them, then other times he didn't always violate them. He would pleasure himself while choking them to death. So what, did he wipe everything after that? I'm asking for a friend because I don't understand why the murders that happened in the 90s weren't linked to him at all, you know? I don't know. I just have questions. Anyways, moving on. On September 5th, 2012, Little was arrested at a homeless shelter in Louisville, Kentucky, and extradited to California on drug-related charges, right? They were able to confirm via DNA testing that he was involved in the murders of Linda Alford, Guadalupe Duarte Apodaca, and Audrey Nelson Everett. All three of these women were killed and later found on the streets of Los Angeles. He was then extradited to LA and was charged on January 7, 2013 for all three murders. Now, investigators stated, quote, "We didn't know at the time we had a serial killer on our hands, but when the DNA came back, it opened a floodgate. From there, we started linking him to more and more unsolved cases," end quote. And boy, did they. A few months later, the police said that he was being investigated for his involvement in 36 murders committed in the 1980s. So then Mississippi was like, let me get a piece of this action. And they decided to reopen the LaPree murder case. Remember the 22-year-old whose murder the grand jury had declined to indict him for? Yeah, that one. They reopened the case. So all in all, he was being tested for his involvement in a whole bunch of other murder cases in many different states. So yeah, he was in big trouble. But hold on, we'll come back to that. Just wait here. So for the 3 LA murders, his case went to trial They had DNA evidence as well as testimonies from witnesses who were also attacked by him while he was out there doing his little killing business. And on September 25th, 2014, he was found guilty and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Yeah, and I love this for him. Love it. Now, here's what got to me, okay? I don't know how. I don't know where he went. I don't know what he did, but somehow he did end up finding some audacity to claim that he was innocent. He said he was innocent. Yeah, he found it. He found the audacity, all of it. The whole entire audacity he found. Excuse me, sir? You're innocent? And then I'm not sure what happened to his innocence, but while he was serving out his life sentence, he decided to spill all of the contents of his entire gut. He began to confess to multiple murders, about 93 of them to be exact, dating back from 1970 to 2005, along with sketches that turned out to be very accurate, actually, and helpful in helping to identify victims. So what happened was this Texas Ranger was working on a case. It was a cold case that he was having a hard time with. And when he heard about the whole thing that came out with Little, he decided that he was going to pay him a little visit, talk to him, see if he could shed some light on the situation. So on May 18, he confessed to the Texas Ranger that he did, in fact, kill Denise Christie brothers in 1994 in Odessa, Texas. He pled guilty to the murder and received another life sentence. On November 9th, 2018, he also confessed to strangling Melissa Thomas to death in 1996. That confession, amongst others, has not yet been confirmed, but they did prompt law enforcement agencies to revisit a lot of cold cases that had long gone unsolved. And so far, at least 60 victims have been linked to him, but at the time of his trial, he was only convicted for 8 of those murders. It irks me because he ran around free, unsuspected, unnoticed for so long. And then the stuff that they got him on, they didn't keep him in jail for too long. And it makes me angry, it makes me, because he was old. By the time he went to trial, he was like in his 70s. And then he passed away in December of 2020 from natural causes, most likely because he was diabetic and had heart problems. He was 80 years old. Like, you did all this. No one caught you. And then they put you in jail like around 70 something. And then you were in there for 6 years? And then you kicked the bucket. I feel like they should have caught him sooner, and he would have had a lot more time to rot, But anyways, his life and crimes put a highlight, though, on the complexities of criminal justice and the predicament of marginalized individuals, right? Because of the people that he sought out and the importance of addressing systemic issues in society. It is a reminder of the impact of violence and the necessity for vigilance in protecting vulnerable populations, because it's not the first story. Like other ones I've done, they always go for these types of people, like the homeless, the sexy time workers, people with substance abuse and things of that nature. They're usually the ones roaming the streets, and people would just think that they died of an accidental overdose or something like that. So yeah, it's important to figure out a way. Yes, they either life circumstances happen to them or they don't make the best decisions, but the reality is we do have these people in our society, and it doesn't necessarily mean that their lives are worthless, so something must be done. Now, although his life has ended, the work to bring justice to those people that have not yet been identified is not done. The FBI continues to work with other departments such as the Texas Rangers and dozens of state and local law enforcement agencies to search for cases that match Little's confessions. Here's the sketches for the victims and the link for the FBI contact. If anybody out there sees this video, although I know it's highly unlikely, and recognizes any of these people, you can reach out and hopefully more cases can be solved and more families could potentially get closure or at least answers, you know. I will also put these contact information in the description below. So, hope that helps. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Samuel Little. Before I wrap up, another thing I wanted to point out real quick is that looking at all the pictures and the drawings, if you make it this far, tell me if I'm wrong, comment below. Did all of the victims have long necks, or was it just his obsession? Because he literally spent a lot of time drawing their necks. They all had such long necks. Like, it was crazy weird. But yeah, I just noticed that. And I wanted to see if I was just tripping, or did homeboy literally give every single person long necks because of his obsession? Or did they actually have long necks? Or maybe he sought out people with long necks too. Maybe that was part of the criteria that you have to have for him to hurt you, is that you had to have long necks. I don't know. Maybe I'm reaching, but let me know what you think. Anyways, that is all that I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. And please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in my next one. But until then, I hope to see you in the comment section. Bye.